Hi, how you doing, guys? It's Will here. I'm going to speak about this weekend's upcoming fight card from Las Vegas, UFC 156. Big fight card. Uh, from top to bottom, the card is stacked. They put on some really good fights on the card. They've got some of the new fighters that's came across from Strikeforce, um, and we've got a fight for the ages. If you're a fan of the lighter weight classes, which I am, you will love the main event. Um, Former lightweight champion, Frankie Edgar is against the featherweight champion Jose Aldo. Now we all know Edgar. Uh, he's got the heart of a lion. Never gives up. Never gives in. Should have got the decision against Benson Henderson at UFC 150, but didn't get it. But see, that's later on. I'll speak about that fight. I'm going to go right to the start of the card on Saturday night and talk about some of the fights we have and who I think is going to win. So first up, we've got Edwin Figueroa against Francisco Rivera. Figueroa's coming off a win over Alex Caceres last year at UFC 143. Rivera's coming off a win off Ronald Delorme at UFC 149, which got turned to a no contest because he tests positive for a banned substance. So I think this could be a good fight, but I fancy Rivera. I think he's got a bit more power. I think he's going to catch Figueroa at some point, and I think he's going to hurt him and take him out. So yeah, I'm going to go first fight of the night. I'm going to go Rivera knockout, round two. Next up we've got Chico Camus against Dustin Kimura. Kimura's new to the UFC. He's 9-0 from Hawaii. 6 submissions. His last 2 wins are TKOs. But I've only seen a couple of bits and pieces on YouTube and some other sites about him, but I haven't seen that much. But knowing him coming from Hawaii, he's going to battle hard and fight hard. Camus is from the Rufus Sport team out of Milwaukee. Duke Rufus, Showtime Pettis, Ben Askren, fuck Ben Askren, Eric Koch. Lots of good fighters coming out of that camp. Really solid fight camp. Really great team. Camus, I think, won his last fight. So he's a stand-up fighter. If you come out of Rufus Sport, you're going to be a good stand-up fighter. So I'm going to go with Camus to TKO as well. Second round. I fancy another second round finish. Next up, we've got Yves Edwards against Isaac Valley Flag. The Flag is the first, one of the first Strikeforce ones to come across and fight in the UFC. After Strikeforce diminished, he's against Edwards, who is a veteran of the sport. Fought everywhere. Fought in Pride. He's fought a lot of big fighters. Marquardt. He's fought Jeremy Stevens. He's fought Matt Serra. Josh Thompson's another one he's fought. And he's coming off a couple of wins. A good win over Jeremy Stevens, a knockout win, where he stopped him. Stevens was having a tough time prior to that, being incarcerated and stuff like that. But Yves Edwards is a really good fun guy to watch, and I fancy him here to get a TKO win. Hits quite hard, so I'm going to pick him by TKO in the first. Then we've got Jacob Volkman, who I think I love watching Jacob Volkman. Lots of people don't like him. I do. If you're a fan of grappling, which I am probably most in MMA, you'll like watching Jacob Volkman. A lot of people think he's boring because he gets a lot of decisions. I don't. In his last fight out against Shane Rolla, he got a submission win, which was the first in a long time. But really good to watch. I really like watching him. He's against Bobby Green, another guy coming across from Strikeforce. I think his last win was against Calvacante, maybe. I think that was Flag. His last win was against Calvacante, was Isaac Flag. But Bobby Green's coming over from Strikeforce. Only watched him a couple of times. 19-5. I think he's got it tough here. Volkman's a beast, I think, at 155. He'll win a lot of fights. A lot of tough fights for a lot of people in that division if you face Volkman. So I'm going for Volkman by a stoppage, by a submission again. Next up, we've got Tyron Woodley, who's also coming across from Strikeforce. He's coming off a loss to Nate Marquardt. He's facing Jay Heron. Now, Heron's another veteran of the MMA. He's fought everywhere. He's fought in Bellator. He's fought in UFC. He fought GSP way back at UFC 48, and he's fought a lot of tough fighters. Jake Ellenberger, he beat Jake Ellenberger. His first fight back in the UFC was Jake Ellenberger. And Ellenberger, the new Ellenberger, was just too good for him, and he got the win there. So Woodley's coming off his first loss to Nate Marquardt for the Strikeforce welterweight title. He's beaten some good fighters himself. Paul Daly's probably his biggest victory, maybe Jordan Main as well. But he beat Tariq Safidine as well. So he's fought some big fighters over there in Strikeforce, some good fighters. Now we'll maybe see a different Tyron Woodley after him getting knocked out last fight against Marquardt. So we'll maybe see him change things up a little bit. But I fancy him to get a decision win here. A 30-27 fairly convincingly. So yeah, I'm going for Tyron Woodley. Next up is Gleison Tibau against Evan Dunham. Now I'm really excited for this fight. Two really good fighters that have been in the UFC for quite a while. Tibau for quite a long time as well. Evan Dunham, he's coming off a fight of the night with TJ Grant, a guy I really like watching. He puts on exciting fights. I seen him in one of his first UFC fights over here in Britain against Eklund, I think it was, and he looked impressive then. And I fancy him to get a decision victory here as well. I think he's going to outwork Tibau. He's a very strong grappler. Tibau, he wants to try and get you down. He's coming out of American top team, so he's going to try and get you down and pound you out. But yeah, I fancy Evan Dunham this. I think he's a bit more well-rounded, and he'll somehow get the decision in this. But I think it's going to be a very exciting fight. On to the main card, we've got the flyweights kick off, which I love the flyweights. Thought Demetrius Johnson and John Dodson was a great fight last week, and expect this to be the same. Joseph Benavidez, a perennial contender at the 135 division, fought the champion a couple of times in Dominic Cruz. I expect him to be the first champ, to be honest with you, but Demetrius Johnson showed how good and how classy he really is by capturing the flyweight title at UFC 152. He's against Ian McCall, who has been a flyweight for a long time, fought some big guys outside of the UFC, Montags, Ortiz, Juicy De Silva. So, but I just don't see how he's going to hurt Benavidez. I actually fancy Benavidez to knock him out and get a stoppage win, or hurt him, to get the ref to jump in and stop. In this, we haven't seen too many finishes in the flyweight division, but I think Benavidez is going to provide one this weekend, and probably move on to face Demetrius Johnson again in a rematch to try and see if he can get the flyweight title, because the flyweight division is not exactly deep at the minute. So I expect him to get a title shot if he beats Ian McCall this weekend. Next up, we've got a really great match. I think this is going to be a great fight. John Fitch, a clash of two styles against Damian Maia. Now, we all know Damian Maia. He's a jiu-jitsu wizard. You go to the ground with this guy, you're in trouble. And as we all know with John Fitch, he likes to take people down and pound them. Lots of decision wins. But I don't think he can do this fight. I think this fight's going to have to both stand up. John Fitch was very exciting his last fight against Eric Silva, who I still think will go on and challenge for the welterweight title at some point. Got the fight of the night at UFC 153, and he's got Damian Maia, this is his third fight at welterweight. His first fight was against Dong Young Kim, and then the ghastly submission of Rick Story, where blood was shooting out his nose and shit. It was crazy. But this is a coin toss for me. I've been going back and forth all week about who's going to win this fight, and I really like Damian Maia. Even though John Fitch is a veteran, he's fought a lot. He's fought probably every top fighter in the 170 division. But I like Damian Maia at this division. I think he's a beast. And I think he's going to, the stand-up, more improved stand-up. He's been working at the shooter box with Rafael Cordero and Vanderlei Silva, so you can only improve there. Coming back when he got knocked out by Nate Marquardt, ever since then his stand-up's been gradually getting better. But you go to the ground with this guy, he's going to submit you. And I just fancy Damian Maia to somehow get a submission win this weekend. Next we go to the heavyweight division. we've got the return of the Reem, Alistair Overeem, Strikeforce champion, Dream champion, K1 champion, against Antonio Bigfoot Silva, who took out Fedor Emelianenko in Strikeforce as well. I think Overeem's a pretty big favourite in this fight. His stand-up is... I don't think you can compare it to the guy. The guy's got a terrific stand-up, great leg kicks, he'll chop you down. But we all know if Antonio Bigfoot Silva gets on top of you and gets any control over you, you're in trouble, like he did to Fedor. He got on top and he just pounded the shit out of him. That's the only way I can see Bigfoot Silva winning this fight. If he can get Alistair down and keep him there and pound him out, he can maybe even submit him. He's a black belt, I think, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So, but I like Overeem to kind of stop him in this fight. I think he'll do it in the second round once he kind of gets going in the first. Silva's coming off a win over Travis Brown, which I was pretty high on Travis Brown. I think Brown hurt himself in that fight and it kind of affected him, and Silva taking him out, but respect to Silva for taking him out. But I'm going for Overeem, the second round KO, and the ref pulling Overeem off him. So, co-main event, Rashad Evans against Antonio Rogério Nogueira. I think this is very, very, very a lopsided fight for Rashad Evans. Nogueira, this is the guy that struggled to beat Jason Brills, and I think Jason Brills actually beat him. I think Rashad Evans will win this. He'll get him down and he'll pound him out, inside a couple of rounds, and then he'll move down to 185 and face Anderson Silva. That's what I think. And then once maybe Anderson Silva beats him, I think he'll come back up to 205 and have another run at John Jones if he's still champion at that point, which he will be. I think Evans will take him down, I said, pound him out a couple of rounds fairly easily. So I'm going to go Rashad Evans there. Next up, we've got the super fights of all super fights. If you're a fan of the lower weight classes, this is the fight for you. Jose Aldo and Frankie Edgar. Very, 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 very good fight, but I just don't see any way for Frankie Edgar to win this fight. I really don't. Jose Aldo had a great knockout of Chad Mendes in Brazil last year. Just turned round, Mendes lowered his head, and then Aldo threw a knee from hell, which fucking nearly decapitated Mendes. And then probably the best celebration ever, run out in the crowd in Brazil and celebrating down there. We all know about Frankie Edgar. Great boxing. Throws it from great angles, great movement. Got a great team surround him as well. Renzo Gracie and Phil Nuss and Ricardo Almeida, Mark Henry as well. They all kind of help him out. Really, really good camp. But I say I'm really struggling to find a way for Frankie Edgar to win this. The kid's got the biggest heart in the UFC by a mile. You can never doubt him out. I'm trying not to, but I cannot see a way for him to beat Jose Aldo. Hopefully he proves me wrong. I love both guys, love both fighters. I love Edgar's heart. He never stops, he always comes forward. I think he beat Benson Henderson at UFC 150. I'm sure a lot of us did. To get the decision, but it went Henderson's way in the end. And he is at his natural weight class, so I think this is a tough fight for Edgar. But you never know. I'm going to go with Aldo I think he's going to take him out. I think he's going to KO him. TKO him in the third or the fourth round, round about there, because I think he's going to catch Edgar with something big. So that's my picks for this weekend at UFC 156. I'll be back in a couple of weeks for UFC in London. So if you want to tell me your picks, leave a comment, I'll get back to you. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. If you don't, give me a thumbs down. If you give me any tips how to kind of get a wee bit better at this, because I'm still new to it, let me know. Come and follow me on Twitter, BigBulber7MMA, and we can talk some MMA on there. In the meantime, enjoy the weekend, enjoy the fights. It's going to be a great card. So everybody enjoy the fights this weekend. I'll speak to you soon. I'll get another video out just before the London event kicks off, just round about Valentine's Day time. So I'll get one in right about then. So I say enjoy the fights, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you then.